voice. It is indeed a good morning. You are listening to In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. My name is Clinton Paris, and I have the pleasure of serving as one of the hosts of Straight Up the Middle. And the other co-host, is none other than the dapper and dashing Professor Tony Seabrook. Good morning, Professor. How you doing?
Man, good morning. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a good week. Was somber, I had a funeral to attend, but other than that, I'm doing well.
Yeah. So you've already warned me that your time is going to be limited with us today. So I want to give you as much opportunity as I can to express your feelings about things happening right now. The big thing right now, of course, the elephant in the room is the impeachment. I think
Exactly.
the whether or not this is the final swan song for Donald Trump or not is yet to be found. But your general impression from the week's activities related to the impeachment.
Yeah. I like your phrasing on that. It's going to be the swan song for Trump. I don't think it's going to be. It's interesting, the comments that Nikki Haley gave. I think those were intentional as far as the Republican Party shouldn't have followed Donald Trump. It was a mistake. But still, she also said not to jettison those things that Trump had championed and where he had done well. So we're going to take those things and I don't know if she said go in another direction, but take those things and move on, basically. So the general theme was to move on from Trump. And that's an obvious statement. It makes sense. Any Republican, now Trump's gone, he can't hurt you. I don't think this, I don't think there's going to be a conviction out of this Senate trial. But as comical as it was, it reminded me again of where we are as a country. Everything's political. And I heard a statement years ago, and it rung clear here. The opposite of right is not wrong. It's hypocrisy. And I can say that another way. This whole inquiry, this impeachment inquiry, they're looking for truth. And you have to be careful. Now, you're a lawyer, but I had to be careful to think, why are they talking political impeachment and then saying it's not a trial, as if you handle things differently? But the implication is you're still working with American jurisprudence and the law. People should be doing things a certain way per the Constitution. So the hypocrisy is clear on the Democrat side. I mean, the hate is obvious. The disdain that they have for Trump is so blinding to them that they will forego, conveniently forget all the positions that they took, especially during the summer. It's like they don't think that the viewing public, not the American public, because I think people are over it. Trump's gone. I mean, this is just what politicians do. This is Washington back to Washington. Just having a pointless hearing, it just matters to them. It doesn't matter to the public. It may matter more to the 75 million Trump voters, but still, that's another story. But just to do it this way, the hypocrisy that I saw with the Democrats, and I just joked about it, to me, an average Joe looking at this that has some type of intelligence would go, seriously, they're manipulating screenshots? Like, that's so passe. I mean, that's what Twitter was doing. It's like, and you're doing this, and this is supposed to be evidence, and this is stuff that you put in the media for us to see, you analyzing something that Trump may or may not have done wrong. And then on the other side of the house, what they seem to say is something that may be underhanded, nefarious, and how those three Republican senators met with Trump's lawyers. They didn't have that same issue with Adam Schiff and the impeachment stuff, but now it's on the shoes on the other foot. So now there's this big wrong that Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, and I forget the other one. I think it was Lindsey Graham.
Of course it was Lindsey Graham. Come on, you think something's gonna happen if Flimsy not be in the middle of it? Of course,
not Flimsy, but
Flimsy Graham was there.
But and so it just brings me back to this is why people like me, but people before me has lost confidence in the government. I have no second thoughts about leaving the Republican Party. I have no second thoughts about not being able to choose who's going to be in the runnings and just be the one that's going to vote for whoever the two-party chooses. I have no problem with that because I'm sickened literally when I look at it, because the same reason that I left, I thought they were spineless. I've always thought Republicans were spineless. At least, and this is my hypocrisy showing, at least do what the Democrats do. They don't care about what they did. I mean, they're just going to go fighting from now. They're going to say it, they're just going to do it. Forget what's going to come back. Republicans want to be the nice guys, and somehow, well, we're not going to do it. We're not going to hold impeachment hearings. Forget Bill Clinton. We're not going to hold impeachment hearings because Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, all of them have said the same impeachable-like things. And their words led to the summer rioting. So, and if they're off the hook, but the Republicans didn't want to, they didn't even go as far as censuring. I think they may have tried to censure Maxine Waters when she made her statement. But
let me ask you. Let me get in a question about, because you mentioned the parallel of alleged inflammatory comments.
Alleged? What? We have video.
I don't know. I'm not, because I don't have a definition in front of me. It just oozes out.
That's that lawyer speak. But go ahead.
So if these people allegedly made disparaging comments, but it wasn't coupled with an insurrection, direct attack on the government, the seat of institution. It's one thing if, I guess, you say these things and people go marching down the street and something happens. It's up to that state to take action. In this case, it happened at the Capitol, and I just want to make sure you're paralleling that language with what the president did and the results of that.
Right, because we're not talking, and you can be a sentimental saying, well, they hit the side of the building. No one's really talking about that, because the insurrection we're really talking about is the lives that were lost. That should be the concern, not because it's the Capitol building, because that's the people's house. And like we joke about, and I only inject race because I always say the Democrats make their living on race. When the jokes were these crazy white people, the Trump supporters, the implication crazy white people, when they were storming the people's house, they took the fight to where the problem was, versus BLM and Antifa when they were attacking police stations, courthouses, and people's businesses. Those aren't the problem. So I have less of a problem that they took it to the people's house, because that's what they should have taken the problem, because that's where their beef was. It wasn't in the streets. So the parallel to me is the same. It's about what happened. Lives were lost. And I'm not going to minimize that in any shape or form. But to be true and certain, we lost more lives with the BLM and Antifa. There were 19. Hold on for a minute,
though. But you're trying to make the parallel, and I don't want to take up your time, of like the Democrats are responsible for what BLM and all these people make. Is that the parallel you're drawing?
No, I'm saying if Trump is responsible, then the Democrats had to have been, and that's past tense.
Well, let me say this correct, because I don't know of an incident where Democratic leadership, elected officials, have for months said, everybody come to this location because you've got grievances. And when they got there, rev them up and said, now go do something. You got to march down to the Capitol. I don't know that you have that kind of connectivity.
Well, I can make that connectivity, but let me throw my other saying, for those who believe, no proof is needed. For those who don't, no proof is enough. And that's where we are with this, because Democrats and all the CNN pundits, they're like, well, yeah, Trump's lawyers are conveniently and overlooking the case, and the case that the Democrats made was so, airtight. I'm like, seriously? But when Trump's lawyers got up there, and then I know I kind of diverted from what you said, but I wanted to put this in. When Trump's lawyers got there, and
some of what you're saying.
When Trump's lawyers were presenting case law, this is when I go, man, Clint's job, this is where it gets sexy. When they start talking case law, and then they said, well, the Democrats, the House managers never cited case law. And I go, you know what? He's right. So all that crap that the Democrats were saying, they never based it on case law. And as a matter of fact, and maybe the right is saying this because we think the same in a lot of ways, they're redefining, and you, to a certain degree, counsel, you're redefining what words mean, which we know changes over time. So I'm glad Trump's lawyer took the time, as painstakingly as it was to watch it. We fight like hell. It's like, dude, we get it with the first couple people, but they did it to show everybody in that chamber on the Democratic side use the same words.
Not in front of a crowd that walked outside and tried to tear down the nearest building, though. And I think they lose something by trying to make that correlation because of the remoteness. You know, if I tell somebody, you know, fight, and 6 months from now you go do something, but most of that stuff was in a political context. He wasn't talking. They had no options. There was no political solution available to these people.
Here's the thing. So you're one of the ones who didn't hear the full play out tape when he said fight. He was talking, and when you let the recording play, he said the Republicans, they don't fight. If they don't fight, he wasn't talking about, and so the crowd wasn't misled. But again, if you want to frame it that way, you can, and that's all the Democrats have. And they're playing this game.
Moments in there, Professor, where they switch over to people in the crowd and they go, "Hey, what did he say we're supposed to do?" Hey, he said, "Go to the Capitol, everybody."
Of course, he said that, and that too is not illegal.
The craziest one is when they showed the man inside the Capitol. What does Trump want us to do? He said, "Go home." He said, "Go home." Yeah. Okay, everybody.
Hey, man, you can do that same thing with the guy that you know the BLM thing. So once they tear the store down and who's running and stealing merchandise, you can ask him the same thing. Oh, what did they say do? Get this rack. I mean, we can do the same thing. We can play that game the whole time. But still, at the end of the day, there's too much leeway there. So if you're a Democrat, you're thinking it's airtight, maybe you're thinking it's airtight. But if you're like me, it goes, okay, this is just what they do in Washington. It's going to be so boring without a President Trump. You know why? Because who's left now? They're back to playing their own game. We'll let you get some points. You let us get some points. We'll all be hypocritical about what we said. We're not going to do any of that stuff. So I think Trump's lawyer did a great job. Now, I didn't watch the Q&A, so I'll be honest there. I don't know what came out of that. But the fact that they cited case law, I want you to kind of opine on that before I have to run back. You don't think his lawyer is actually citing three cases to the Democrat House manager citing none? You don't think that's
no? And the reason being is this is a political process. It's not a legal process. And so you don't leap over and apply the rules of evidence. They don't apply. It's a political process. And in that realm, it's kind of like arguing with your wife. You kind of get to kind of say what you want to say. You know, I mean, whatever you think you can use, you get and that's the difference here. So the fact that you have these Supreme Court cases, that's a different whole element. It's irrelevant.
Wait a minute. You're saying so now politics is now divorced from the Constitution?
No. I'm saying that the Constitution sets up impeachment as its own political process, opposed to the criminal or normal legal process we use. And I know it shocks people to think that that's what it is, but the law doesn't apply in all settings. It has no jurisdiction to be used.
So if the law doesn't apply, then what are you holding him to? What did Trump?
Hold on. You follow what's in the Constitution.
But the Constitution, he hasn't broken the Constitution. You're trying to redefine the word to make us think that he did something that somehow was against the Constitution.
All words are open to interpretation. There is no absolute one definition of, no matter what you might want to call it. And part of the process in this context is an interpretation of what the words mean, and then you apply that to your understanding of what the facts are.
Wait a minute, counselor. Wait a minute. You know what you told me last week? You said a week before last, you gave me a Law 101 class, and you said that the judicial branch, that Supreme Court was the one that interpreted. So now you're saying you guys interpret, but you know what?
Okay. So, I mean, I don't want to drift too far.
Right.
But the supreme legal document in this country is the Constitution.
Okay.
It carves out impeachment.
Right.
It go to a judge. The jurors are the past judgment are the people in the Senate. The triers of fact are the House of Representatives. I mean, it's a different process. And so to throw those cases in, they're not despised, but they're instructed to understanding what you're dealing with. But end of the day, it's a really, really political process. It's one of the things that most people don't like about democracy, and that is the flexibility of all of its rules.
No, we don't like the hypocrisy of democracy. We don't mind being flexible, but let's say DJ Anna had a good question. Well, she posed some tough points. So is the Constitution not a legal document? That was the first question.
It is the supreme legal document.
Okay, so it's legal. So impeachment isn't a legal process.
No.
It's a political process.
Right, exactly. It's a political process.
Okay.
That's it. And it maps out exactly what that process is in the Constitution.
Come on with it, DJ Anna. Come on with it.
I agree with you. The confusing part of this, I agree.
No, it's not confusing. No.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You explained it well, Clint, and I'm not being facetious. You explained it well. The thing is, you expect ordinary people without this legal background to just digest this that doesn't make sense, because I think another lawyer on my side of the house could make the same case. So now you have people thinking there are two rights at the same time. Two things are right at the same time. And I'm just not sure how that happens.
And you know what? And they can be. Two things can be right at the same time if they're not opposing things.
That lawyer speak again. There's that lawyer speak.
Okay, Anna wants to get in. Anna, what's your comment? We're doing fine this morning. What's on your mind? You can the whole. I mean, and I know that's it's unusual. And we had like 3 or 4 of these at the federal level. You've not had very many impeachments, in Congress. It's only been used very few times. Like, for example, there's no role the president plays at all. There's no role for the Department of Justice. They do their own it's completely insulated unto themselves. Go ahead, Professor. You had to get. I want you to use your time.
Yeah. I'm about to leave out here. So the fact that Chief Justice Roberts already said he wasn't going to be a part of this because the president wasn't going to be there, and the president's not there, there's no reason for him to be there. And this is my take on it. So now, and I'm not really repeating right-leaning talking points, but because I don't know the legal process, but knowing that everyone's pointing out that he's the one that presides over the impeachment process because he did it the last time. So the fact that he's not there already, to me, with the average person, and I'm glad DJ Anna weighed in, because we're thinking it's already illegitimate as it is. So this is just what the swamp does. This is what regular, just career politicians do. They do this kind of stuff knowing that the average person doesn't care. So they waste all this time, and then when they need stimulus money, then they start to backtrack and they attack their opponents because, we don't have an agreement, but you're wasting time with this.
Well, I feel bad about what I'm going to do, Professor, because I'm just going to wait till you're gone.
And I am gone on this one. I'll come jump in later.
All right, people. Thanks, Professor, for jumping in. Professor's got to go off to teach class this morning. But I'm going to do something I normally don't do because a bunch of my lawyer friends have been chiming in and sending me messages. A couple things that they just sent me. One of them sent me a note. He says, case law only applies in legal proceedings. This is a non-legal proceeding, as impeachment is. Therefore, case law doesn't apply. And oftentimes within proceedings in the law, we will defer to other documents to give some guidance or perspective, or it's instructive to the court, but doesn't make it controlling. And we've heard basically through this entire impeachment process, they are not following along with any of how you would expect a legal trial to go But see, here's what's underneath this, I think. And the attorney out of the Maryland area just sent me a message about holding accountable. This is about holding people accountable. This really is about accountability. And if Donald Trump, for his actions, is not held accountable, the risk is that in the future you get other stuff. And I've got someone else who wants to come in and join our discussion this morning. Let's get her synced in. There she is. Good morning, Robin. I think you're still muted.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing? And again, remind us of the organization that you work with.
I currently work for the new and improved Florida Rising. It's a new organization. So yes, okay. Florida Rising.
Now, and it sounds like, it's got a great title, Florida Rising. Tell us, what is the gist of Florida Rising? What is it all about?
To sum it up in the easiest statement, we're a membership-based organization. We go into communities and empower the communities and teach them, inform them rather, in regards to how they fight for themselves. It could be something as simple as a speed bump. And instead of them just settling for that and them not know what to do, how to do it, we teach them and we support them with tools on how to fight for themselves, to empower them. And that once that person learns.
You would think we've been at this country, 240 years or something? I don't know what the number is, 230 years, 70. Anyway, somebody else, they'll fact check me on that. But we've been at this country that many years, and you're telling me the average citizen still doesn't know how to connect and engage and making sure that they get the things that they deserve in their communities?
It is amazing. It is amazing. And to no fault of their own, right? Because it's generational. A lot of times we put people in office, our grandmama tell us who to vote for, and everything ends up political. That's the key to it, right?
Okay.
So with the engagement, they learn the process of who does it, who's in charge of it, who do you pay their paycheck with your vote, right? Because that's what it ends up being. And then the ending result is political. But the housing campaign that we're running right now, it breaks my heart when we knock on doors and people say that they're so thankful for us even coming out there. They have mold, they have rat infestation. There are so many slumlords here in Hillsborough County, and people feel helpless, but they live in that. They live in it. And to tell you the truth, the majority of the demographics are Black people. That's really the sad part.
Because of that power piece. Really, if you don't know, you can. And I know that when we came to Tampa, my mother, wasn't overly educated and didn't really know how government works.
Right.
And it can be, it's one of the things that really inspired me to want to be a lawyer. I tell people all the time, I just got tired of nobody having an answer.
Wow.
Because on Perry Mason, he always had
always.
And I was like, I'm going to be Perry Mason because he had at least somebody need to know what to do.
Yes.
When stuff happens though. So I get that's why I commend you for your longevity and working to improve and help communities. Some people think that things just happen. They don't. Things happen because good people make them happen. So you should be commended for that. And I look forward to Florida Rising and more and more. Now, I drug you out this morning. I know, Robin, I drug you out because, I like hearing people talk differently about things, different perspectives. And the more that we engage with people that have a different view of things, I think we get a better understanding of the totality of all of us. It's easy to dismiss things that we don't agree with and whatnot. So I've been polling people all week about their thoughts about the impeachment proceedings. I was so polite to the professor. I gave him a full 15 minutes to try to do something, and I let him do whatever he did. But I want to talk with you a little bit about the impeachment. Let's start with the first thing was that got me. I was really impressed with Stacey Plaskett. She is bringing back the tall, dark-skinned woman, power play. She just really did a great job. I thought she really represented, I think she's a Virgin Islands representative maybe, but I thought she did a profound job in putting forth her arguments. What was your thoughts? And I don't know how much of the proceedings you watched of just the general presentations of the
I
impeachment proceedings?
So to be honest, I think I made the statement last week that to me, I just think they need to move on, right? I understand the long game that they're presenting, but and I think the end result is that they don't want Donald Trump to be able to run for office again. I think that's the gist of it. But so I've been watching snippets of it, not really engaged in it. What I did see her portion, and I thought that she, hey, Black women rock, right?
Go ahead.
Uh,
Listen, I'm just going to put it out there. The brothers were texting about her. I'm going to just leave it at that. I'm going to just say that part. The brothers were texting about her. Let me just say it that way. So
listen, when the opportunity is given, we show out, right? We present
right.
and we show out. And I thought she did a fantastic job. And I think that the small amount that I have been watching and just different intervals, I think that they are some of the pictures or videos that they've shown, just that now that part was amazing to me. That you had those angry people walking through the hall saying, let's hang somebody, let's execute somebody, that type of thing. But I thought she presented very well. They even had her dress. She had a tight dress on. They had her dress on.
I don't want to say too much. I'm just saying, there's a lot of texting going on about her.
Yeah. She's a representative. Where is she from?
Virgin Islands. She's an at-large delegate for the Virgin Islands. For fourth term. I mean, I don't know a lot about her, but I do have some notes here that I put together. Yeah, she's. But
they're putting. I noticed that it wasn't just a regular old white people. To be honest, they're putting a diverse group up there to present.
Yes,
and this is their time to shine. So when your number is called, you do what you need to do.
Yeah, I thought the team, the visual presentation of the team made you feel good about it. That was the first thing. You felt like, okay, they covered it. I thought they did very, very competent in their arguments and their presentations. What about the substance? Do you think they made the argument sufficient enough for him to be convicted?
Listen, it's gonna, whether they had enough information or not, the Republicans stick together. So, you can present to them all day long that wall is blue, and they're gonna say, if all of them say that it's mixed with white, they're gonna stick, that's, so it doesn't even matter. It just, I think what it depends on is who, and I think they did a good job with bringing people back to that day when they had to be rushed and secured in a safe location while those people tore up the Capitol. So I think that if a representative or a senator was involved with that, I think that fear, remembering that day, them recreating that day is important. But it's I think 5 have said, or 7 have said that they would, they're leaning towards impeaching now, right?
Yes, and I think it was 6 Republicans have implied. Of course, they're a jury, so they really shouldn't be saying how they intend to vote, things of that nature. They're really the passing judgment, so they really should be waiting for all the information before they do that. But that is what. Let me ask you this: how do you think the Democratic, maybe Joe Biden, has done to keep his agenda moving while this is going on? Has he done an adequate job of maintaining some focus on himself?
I think so. I think that he's done a good job in staying out of it. But they're having conversations. But to the American people, I know that he's done a good job, I think, in regards to staying out of it and continuing to be focused on proving their point that they can impeach and also run the country.
Well, I'm getting a message from the studio that we have to take a quick break. Robin, can you stick around just for a few minutes on the second half? After the break, real quick. All right, we're going to take a quick break, everybody. When we come back, got a couple things I want to run by Robin. Got to get her opinion on these things. Also, want to remind everybody, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Don't get caught sleeping. I got an idea for everybody when we come back. This is In Touch News Radio, reality radio, where everybody can be a star. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Where's the professor?
Hey, this is Agent Wright, better known as Mr. Clean. You looking for some great barbecue? Come see them two brothers on the grill, located at 423 Virginia Street, Charleston, West Virginia. We got ribs, chicken, pulled pork, brisket, collard greens, mac and cheese, baby. Come get some and get you a nice, smooth cigar. 304-550-4431. That is 304-550-4431. Come get some, baby. The Rib Man, mama, the Rib Man.
We're back live on Radio, reality radio, everybody. My name is Clint Paris. I am the co-host of Straight Up the Middle. The other co-host, Professor Tony Seabrook. He had to step away. He came on for the first part of the show, but he's back teaching on the weekend, so he can't sit in for the full hour. But he was gracious enough to come on for the first 15, 20 minutes and give us some perspective from his view of what's been happening with the impeachment. Now, when we went to break, I mentioned something about Valentine's Day. All right, listen. So there's a principle that I want everybody to kind of accept, and that is a healthy heart starts with love. It's a basic, simple principle. And Valentine's Day is a day that we express that love to the people that are important in our lives. I want to let everybody know that there's a special event happening. I'm sure in your community there are tons of events. I'm down in Tampa, Florida. The winners of the Super Bowl, by the way. But there's a Valentine's affair hosted by In Touch News and Tampa Bay Tammy over at 5508 Courtyard. That's tomorrow night, Sunday, February 14th, starts at 6 p.m. Live entertainment, music by DJ TP. And listen, TP goes all the way back to when I was DJing at USF. So he really can spin the wheels. There's going to be food, drinks. Bezel is going to be performing. Just a lot of good time. So if you're available in the Tampa area, come on out to 5508 Sunday evening, February the 14th at 6 p.m. Go to the In Touch News webpage, intouchnews.com, for more information about participating in this event, which is really about the healthy heart starting with love. And we want to express the love to the people that are important to us. Listen, masks are going to be required. So if you're a non-masker, don't show up. Also, if you're running a temperature for any reason, don't show up, because we're going to be checking temperatures and masks will be required as well. All right, Robin. So thank you again so much for sitting in with us. Everybody, we've got Robin Lockett sitting here. She's with Florida Rising, correct?
Florida Rising,
which is an organization that's dedicated to connecting people with their government and making sure that people get the services and things that they need, and just informing the community and empowering them. So I want to thank you, Robin, for joining us. So, all right, so guys, got your perspective on impeachment up in Washington.
Well, let me ask you
Let's talk about, I'm sorry.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yes.
So regarding tomorrow's event, I don't have a date, so can I still attend?
What? Love is not limited. Love is not limited.
In case you have some single women out there, it'll be fun to do.
Absolutely. Listen, there's plenty of love to go around for everybody. In fact, I encourage you all to come out. I am not soliciting dates for Robin, but hey, listen, brothers, jump on Facebook. You can see for yourselves. But it is absolutely open to anyone wanting a good time, safe, spatial. It's outside so people can spread out. And a nice mature, it's going to be a wonderful time. It always is. This is the fourth event. I've gone several times myself, and we're trying to make sure we're able to get there. On the down low, I am taking my daughter out tonight for our Valentine's dinner. And she was like, is mommy going? I was like, no, mama not going for this. So it's me and you and daddy on the town. So we're going out tonight.
You know, I think that is so great. Every time I hear about you and your daughters, I think that because now you're setting her expectation of the man that she is going to, she one day will marry if she gets married, but or even dating. So you're setting that expectation.
You're right about that. I have 5 sisters, or 4 sisters. One of my sisters passed away, and they've always been so wonderful and sweet and just inspiring to me. And I've always wanted to create a mindset in her of what a healthy relationship
Yes.
looks and feels like.
Yes.
And so I enjoy spending time with her, going out on dates with her. We go out to little stuff. A couple weeks ago, we went over to the pier in St. Pete and just had us a ball. So we're going out to dinner tonight and hang out a little bit, and just
Nice.
us doing our thing. So, but I wanted to ask you about your perspective on the local scene. What have you heard or the feeling locally in the community about the impeachment? Are people paying attention? Are they not paying attention? What's your take on that?
To be honest, I don't think people are really paying attention to it.
Okay.
And you know, where it and okay, so I don't think a lot of people are paying attention to it because I haven't, you know, we don't have that conversation. But I think a lot what's happening now also is because we're working from home. Because like I work from home, so I'm now out
Okay.
like I used to be, and things are kind of, you know, calmed down. But and the
Right.
people that I speak with over the phone, you know, it's not like it was when it was a question as to who was going to win the election. That was
Right.
24-day cycle, you know. Now the news is not pushing it like they used to, right? Only on MSNBC with Joe, what's his name? But other than that, no, I don't hear that much about it, to be honest.
Got it. Well, okay. Well, Robin, I want to thank you again this morning for getting up and joining us on the show. Always, the door is always welcome. You always bail me out when I need somebody to talk to. So thank you so much. And please come out tomorrow night. I hope you can join the event. It should be a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. And thank you for always welcoming me with open arms and to the show. So I'm sorry I missed the professor today, but we'll get it another time.
Excellent. All right. Well, keep listening. Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
All righty. All right. That was Robin Lockett. Now, listen, I got a couple people in the waiting room trying to get in. And if you could just stay with me for a minute, I'm going to bring in, let me go real quick to the waiting room here. And I'm going to bring in Carl. And I'm going to bring in Ed Narain. I'm bringing both of you guys in. And I want to start first with talking to Carl. I know that you know, you're a longtime listener to the show. Carl, you there? Hello, Carl, are you there?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, Carl. All right. So listen, we're taking everybody's temperature on the impeachment. Give it to me. What do you think of the impeachment so far?
Yeah, I was yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah.
All right, I just lost you, Carl. Hey, Carl, I just lost you. Hello, Carl. I want you to hang up and try to come back on, and
Okay.
we'll get that worked out. Let me bring on Ed Narain, a former state representative from Florida, who's always gracious enough with his time. Also, good morning, Ed. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Clint. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
What does that shirt say? Husband's body, husband, daddy, protector.
It says husband, daddy, protector, and hero. It should say dad bod on here because that's what I've got nowadays, a dad body.
I hear you.
How are y'all doing?
Well, listen, everybody's not able to have one of those.
The dad bod? True.
Right. Hey, do me a favor, Ed. I'm going to try to bring this caller in. Let's get these comments from Carl, and then I got some questions for you, okay? Just sit tight, but you're going to be on too. Sit tight. Let me bring Carl in. Okay, I just clicked on, and let's see if we can get Carl into the conversation. Carl, you there? Hello, Carl, are you there? You're muted, Carl. You're muted. I can't unmute you. Got to unmute yourself. All right, Carl, are you there?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm here.
30 seconds. Give me your comment real quick. I only got 30 seconds. Hello, Carl.
Okay, yeah. I'm getting a lot of feedback from
I apologize, Carl. I hate to say it, man. We have to get you back on again later. For some odd reason, we're having a technical difficulty with him, Mr. Narain. But let's go ahead and bring you in. Okay, Mr. Narain. So the first thing is, and I'm honest, you're also a lawyer, so you can comment on this. early on in the discussion, people are struggling with the idea of impeachment being a political process versus being a legal process. And can you help with some further understanding for people as to why this doesn't look like a regular trial or legal proceeding?
Yeah, so the process of impeachment is outlined in the Constitution. It is really the only remedy you have for federally appointed judges and for members of the executive branch. People always say, the branches are equal, but truly they're not. The Congress has the majority of the power. They were the framers who created the Constitution. And while they wanted to have a head of the government, they were always weary of the fact that they just had broken away from England a few generations earlier and didn't want to end up in a situation where one person ruled over the masses. So although we have a president, that president doesn't have unlimited power. The Congress is there as a check. Now, the Congress created this process, which is supposed to be apolitical, to ensure that if ever the executive branch got out of line, there was a remedy to remove the president. You can't remove a king, right? Monarchs stay in office for as long as they're alive and then pass it on to their children. Well, that's not the case here. The constitutional question of the last week and a half has been whether or not impeachment could be applied to a former office holder. The Senate voted that it could be. It was a partisan vote, but actually you could almost say it was bipartisan. I hated when they did that to me when I was elected. One member of the other party comes over and they say it was bipartisan. In this case, I believe it was 6 senators who joined with the majority party, and it became a bipartisan vote to say that he could be the former office holder and Donald Trump held accountable through the impeachment process for his actions on January 6th and leading up to that. So it's not a political process, it's a legal process designed to protect the American people from a potential tyrant.
So there should be no more questions about it. Anybody who's feigning, I don't understand. Listen, Professor Ed Moran has just given it out. His con law professor would be so proud of him over at Stetson College of Law, the #1 law school in the country. All right, Ed, talk about what we saw this week, though. Talk about what we saw. Do you think the the managers made a compelling case?
Absolutely. And I'm going to take my partisan hat off today. I'll get accused of still being partisan for this, but it's completely off. Anyone who has ever watched a trial, been a part of a trial preparation for it, studied the law, saw a master class on Constitution law on day one of the impeachment proceedings, where the case was laid out and it was made, both with feedback from conservative scholars on whether or not impeachment would apply in this case, and liberal scholars. So there was a consensus there. From then on out, they laid out the case with timelines, with video evidence, with comments. It was just so well done. The defense, on the other hand, was accused, no matter what you read, of being rambling, of dodging the actual issues and playing on emotion instead of dealing with the facts. What's unfortunate about this entire process is that the vote is going to be a political vote. It will fall along party lines. I think you'll have a few senators on the Republican side that will agree with the Democrats for a conviction, but it won't reach the standard of the 2/3 necessary for it to be applicable.
I wanted to ask you about the strategy of only one count, which was insurrection, citing an insurrection. I thought the Democrats may have missed an opportunity by not also including violation of oath for failing to defend America, because Donald Trump did not respond with a defense of the Capitol in a timely manner. What are your thoughts about that?
That's interesting that you throw that out there. I think that the second charge that you would want to charge him with would have been a little bit more difficult to prove. Ultimately, the National Guard did show up. Ultimately, additional police reinforcement showed up. There is some debate, and it's very small, as to whether or not that was Vice President Pence or President Trump. If you listen to the arguments from yesterday, President Trump apparently did not want to interfere with the protesters / rioters / insurrectionists who were attempting a coup on the American government on January 6th. He kind of sat back and watched it happen and was actually excited and perplexed why other people who were around him that day weren't as excited as he was. I think it would have been more difficult to prove that charge, but the insurrection charge, to me, it's easier because you have all of his words leading up to it. And here's the kicker from a legal standpoint. Every possible legal remedy that President Trump had to prove that the election was stolen on January 6th was exhausted. So at this point, you're not dealing with, okay, we could take this to a higher court, we could take it to the Supreme Court. No, they're there to do a job and to certify the election. And he mistakenly believed that somehow Vice President Pence could overturn that. And he got that crowd lathered up to go in and do whatever it was going to take to stop that. That's why I think insurrection is a stronger charge, because it's easier to prove.
But, you know, there seems to be the pushback in the defense is connecting his language with their actions, you know, specifically with their actions to, I mean, you know, because you get as much as go to the Capitol. The next leap is that the purpose of going to the Capitol is now to go inside the Capitol and physically stop the process. Now, here's the only the one of the arguments I thought makes a lot of sense is, but what else could they have done? There was nothing else they could do besides physically entering the room and stopping, you know, the process. But if your argument or your position that Republicans is already kind of baked in, they're going to vote what they're going to vote, and the Democrats, you know, they're at least half as smart as you and I, what's the purpose of the impeachment proceedings if the outcome is already kind of predictable?
So this is where Professor Seabrook and I will probably agree.
What?
This is,
wait a minute. What did he just say? He agreed.
I said this is where we will agree. Hey, I give up points when I need to give up points. You know, especially when I'm ahead by so much. I'll throw you a bone. Look, at this point, you do the impeachment proceedings for two reasons. One, history is still the judge. And ultimately, you have to hold the president accountable for what transpired on January 6th. So the legal process that is taking place likely will not result in a conviction. He will claim he was vindicated, but in the court of public opinion, the video, the facts, the testimony, because they voted just a little while ago to allow witnesses, that's going to go into the congressional record. When historians look back, it will be clear as day that a man who did not want to give up the power of the presidency incited an insurrection by his words and his actions. So you do this for an accountability purpose, but you also do it for the court of public opinion and history, and hopefully to prevent another person from attempting anything close to this. No American should stand by and justify what happened on the 6th.
What about this theory? Here's what I think this is about. I think they could care less about Donald Trump because he's done. I think they're trying to hang Donald Trump around the necks of all the people still in Congress so that they discuss those people who would have otherwise supported them, who are just now fed up. What are your thoughts about that angle, Professor, as far as it relates to why this has been, because let me back up, you know, because if you go back to the Bill Clinton impeachment, the reason there wasn't a trial was they didn't have the votes to convict him. So they didn't even waste their time. They just went with the censure, called it a day. This case, though, I think they want to hang Donald Trump around the necks of all the Republicans who are still active in politics. And that's why Nikki Haley made her speech the other day before the results. What are your thoughts about that, Professor?
I think you're right. I think they are more than just about Donald Trump, but certainly they want those ardent supporters like I think Getz, whatever his name, the one out of Florida. He's a big Trump supporter. Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham, I think that they'll get away with it. I mean, they know how to wiggle out of this. I don't think it's going to really affect their political career. I mean, they're old dogs. They know how to fight like that. But I also think it's about the Trump supporters. Remember, Democrats don't really just talk about Trump. They talk about their supporters. And they talk about his supporters as if it's only a few of them. And Of those few, most of them are bad. Dare we say redneck and just not very bright. That's the disdain that they have for Trump, and they don't care for his supporters. The problem and the issue that I see for Democrats is, and I agree with Ed in a way, yeah, history is going to reflect, but there's multiple ways of looking at history. History has a way of vindicating people as well. And Democrats have shown that impeachment is nothing but a thing. So now they've opened that door to, if I don't like you and I have the majority and you say something offensive and I can get people to support it, we're just going to impeach you, no matter what it is. And we're going to hold you to this rule like we were just having this debate. It's not really illegal, but it's politically not correct. This whole thing that you're playing with impeachment, and at least, you and Ed have very high regard. In 2016, I remember having this conversation, 2017, how Trump was so bad for the office because of the office of the presidency. Regardless of the office holder, it's the office of the presidency with such a high standard. But what Democrats have shown is their disdain has made them blind to what was so beholden. They don't care. They're trying to tear the office down, and they're rebuilding that office.
No.
Can I rebut that?
Hold on. We got to get you off some of those websites, Professor. First of all, the Trump supporters are our co-workers, church members, and family members, and friends of ours.
You're the only one that say that locally.
Let me say it again. They're our church members, our co-workers, and family members. This idea that somehow Democrats hate Republicans or Trump supporters, that's lunacy. But that builds in these little cubby holes where people echo themselves.
Wait a minute. I've heard them say it. I've heard Hillary Clinton called us deplorables. I mean, who are you talking about? Because no, she didn't call them deplorables. And we go back and you're talking about the Hillary Clinton comment. Right.
She said he's bringing out the deplorables, and she was right, as we see now by the attack on the Capitol.
Listen,
on the Capitol. Some of these people are scary. The shaman is a scary guy. A lot of these people are scary. I don't know where else they could be but in the Republican Party. But leave that where it is.
Clint, let me just say this. Your point is so valid, right? We all have friends that are Trump supporters, right? And supporters, if you want to use that term as liberally as we possibly can, people who voted for Donald Trump in 16 and again in 20, despite all the other things that were going on, they would be considered supporters. But I am not friends with the tiki torch carrying guys who marched in Charlottesville in 2017 saying they will not replace us. Okay, I'm definitely not friends with the insurrectionists who spread feces across the U.S. Capitol. But those people happen to be Trump supporters as well.
In their hand and spread it around.
Yeah, I mean, these people are also Trump supporters. So you have to be careful with who you're aligning yourself with. Now, politically, this wasn't some hatchet job where they're just going after him. If the vote had happened when they went to McConnell on January 6th and Trump was still in office, he would have been immediately convicted. I believe that based off of the terror that the senators and the congressional members were under. Some time has passed. They're doing this because in the law, although you don't always get a conviction, you need to do things as a deterrent. If somebody broke into my house, okay, I want them to go to jail and pay a price for doing that. But if they can't be convicted, at the very least, they should be arrested, arraigned, detained, and have to go through the process so it acts as a deterrent for not just my family, but for everybody else in my neighborhood. That's why Donald Trump is on trial for impeachment right now.
So I got one more thing to add to that. I'm going to bust a cap in their butt also so they can remember the experience as well.
Wait a minute. Liberals talking about shooting people? Liberals have to
Listen, okay, guys, I want to give both of y'all a chance. Give me a prediction of what comes out of this the impeachment process. We got 1 minute, Professor. Go ahead.
Okay. Trump is not convicted. As a matter of fact, Trump now becomes a kingmaker. And that's going to piss a lot of liberals off because they're going to say Republicans had the chance to put this guy, put this guy out of our misery, not out of their misery. Trump is not going to be convicted. He's going to look at his vindication. He's going to have a platform to talk again. Democrats are in trouble in 2022.
Professor, I love you. I love you as a brother, man. But I'm going to tell you right now, you were right up until a point. Trump is going to be a kingmaker of the new Patriot Party that he creates. If you're a Democrat, you love what you're seeing because the Republican Party, as we know it, is no more. The quote unquote deplorables are following Donald Trump wherever he goes. He will have his own social media platform, his own news network, and he's going to have his own political party that he's going to utilize to get his message out and to continue to bilk millions of dollars from supporters that basically don't realize they're being conned by the greatest con man this country has ever seen. Democrats are going to win in 22 and in 24 as a result of that split.
That is so perfect, Ed, because I think that at the end of the day, this is about power and money for Donald Trump. He could care less about principle and ideologies, and he doesn't care anything about wrecking the Republican Party in the process. I want to thank you, Ed, for coming on this morning. Really appreciate your time. Professor, as always, I love the discussion. Hey, we don't hate the Republicans.
No.
I want to get that on the record. They're our friends and family. And this is not about the 74 million people that voted for Donald Trump. This is about America trying to be what it says it is, a country of laws, constitution, and holding people accountable. I want to thank both of y'all again for participating. See you back here next week on In-Texas News Radio, Reality Radio, where everybody can be a star. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks a lot, guys.
Take care. Have a great one, guys.